starting off with like watching it, and then I will add like my comments about it. So
more recently, I did have a hate account on Instagram. They like told me to kill myself and told me that I like was ugly and that I looked like a clown. But then I realized they're only making fun of me because I'm giving them attention about it.
So this episode, I'm extremely excited for. I have a really strong opinion on social media things. Even though I am a social media person, I am on Twitch, I am an affiliate, you can tell I'm obviously a part of it, but like I do have a lot of strong opinions, especially like when it comes to kids and playing. So I'm really excited to share those, and I'm really excited to take this opportunity to actually listen. So I hope you guys really enjoy this.
I'm pro social media because I like to send memes to my grandma, I like to keep connected with my friends, but most importantly, I think it's a useful platform and tool.
I didn't know what a trans guy was before I was on TikTok. I just thought I was like a masculine like girl.
I have social media, but like I don't use them. I kind of just have enough posts that doesn't make me seem like a loser.
I find it really toxic because everything's based off numbers. I just want to see how pro-social media has helped their life because it hasn't really helped me as a person.
I'm a content creator on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. I'd say that I would make like $30,000 to $40,000 a month.
First of all, that's wild. $30,000 to $40,000 a month? That's crazy. Is it capturing my desktop audio?
I'm
Wonderful.
anti-social media because of the present algorithms in place.
So do you think Instagram is the most detrimental social media?
No, I think TikTok is. Because it's manipulating their users and taking so much information from them, and they're showing that through the For You page, and people don't care.
Okay, so I want to take this opportunity to go into a particular part. So I wanted to give also, since they gave their little thing, I'm also going to give my little like opinion on it. So I really enjoyed this setup. I enjoyed the fact that it was teenagers involved, like specifically teenagers. And I know like they probably took a minute to find that girl and they're like, we need to find 2 more or something. But I really loved this this setup because this is something I had to deal with personally, actually, as a late millennial who still didn't have the full access to technology. So for me, what it was I didn't get a phone. I got a phone I think early on, but I never got an iPhone. And that sounds like nothing, but I was in high school in 2012, 2013, and that was when iPhones were really big and prominent. Okay? And they were like the thing, and it's not that I wanted to be part of the thing, but as a kid you feel those pressures. So I got to experience being restricted on my social media and on like certain technology things, but instead getting to reinvest that into real life things. So like into hobby things, into like doing other activities, into having sports and all this stuff and all that. But so I feel like while I was surrounded by social media, in high school, I never really participated, and I didn't have a Facebook until 10th grade. Fun fact. And I actually thank my parents for that. Like at first it really sucked, I'm not gonna lie. Like it sucked not to be connected to people, but it also made sense. And I think ultimately I was glad for it because there was a lot less on my social media that I was worried about, even though I was still in 10th grade and still in high school and dumb. Like I was actually a lot less worried because I was grateful that I was almost restricted from being stupid. So I'm gonna keep playing this, but we can keep moving from there.
I'm going to read out the prompt. If you agree, step forward, and if you disagree, stay put. I spend more than 3 hours on social media daily.
I definitely find myself,
You get sucked in, like you go on for like 30 minutes and then you're just there forever, and that happens to me all the time.
but sometimes I spend more time comparing myself to others. Oh, I'm not getting that many likes, and it kind of brings me down.
But if I went on TikTok and I kind of just analyzed everyone and just was like trying to compare myself, then it would definitely bring me down. But just as a content creator, I just have the mindset of like, oh, this is what you make and maybe I can make it differently.
So I want to start right there. So I think they all bring up really good points. I do spend more than 3 hours on social media myself. I stream for 3 hours easy. But actually, I don't pay attention to social media. I may be paying attention to chat, but I don't pay for social media. So maybe that's an interesting distinction. If anyone wants to add that in, comment below. Comment whatever you'd like below. I do spend more than 3 hours on social media, and I think it's really interesting that this girl in the black over here is mentions the fact that she consumes it from a particular lens, and I think that's really, really important. I think that her reacting, like her consuming something within the proper lens, I think that is how social media can be consciously consumed. And there's some other interesting things. Maybe I'll add on, maybe I'll talk more about it, but you guys have to let me know because I'm bad about expanding. But what I thought was interesting was that Alex doesn't like texting. I love texting. I much prefer texting, but there's something more intimate to it, I feel like, to a lot of people. So I do think that social media can sometimes put these weird, like, lines. Like, it's almost it's almost weird. Like, people are like, yeah, I'll add you as a friend, but I wouldn't give you my number. And so I do think there's some detachment that people have from, like, social media versus not. So yeah, and I think it's really hard that if you're trying to consume, like, if you just consume content and you don't ever create, I think it's really depressing to be on these apps. I think that either you need to leave and, like, go do something else outside of consuming content, or that you probably need to, like, create your own content so you don't feel so overwhelmed, or consume it in a conscious lens. So that's how I think about social media, and being on there 3 hours, I think that it better be closer to a job than not if you are, and I've done that, but so I think the other guys is pretty valid too. Like, he talks about connecting with family. That's so important. Like, I feel like I can actually reach out to my family. I can send them things. They can look at all my stuff and feel updated, and it's really cool. So I think that there is reasons to be pro technology, pro social media. I just also think that, there's a lot more we can add to support, because no one's going to ever be without social media or technology again, ever. Like, unless we go through, like, a huge blackout of stuff, we're not.
Instagram, I have a TikTok, but, like, I never open the app, like, ever. I'm clearly not the skinniest, and, like, I have alopecia, so I'm losing my hair, and, like, I'll look on social media and, like, I'll see some, like, K-pop star, and they're like a 00 with the longest hair on the planet, and they're like their skin is silk smooth. And when I take pictures, no matter what I do, you can see the whites of my scalp. So I don't take photos, and because I don't take photos, I don't have anything to post, and because I don't have anything to post, I don't see a point in opening the app. Plus, I'd rather spend my time reading.
I used to be more meek and mild. I was just like, oh no, they're gonna comment I'm ugly and they're gonna hate on me. But then when TikTok started blowing up, one of my videos blew up, and I was just like, hey, they don't hate me. And I was just like, oh, okay, the confidence, it's coming in.
And I get 100 notifications a day from my best friend saying, I found this new video you would love. And I'll click on it occasionally, and I love the video because it's funny, it's short, and it, like, matches my personality. But it makes me really upset when, like, I FaceTime with my friend and she's scrolling through TikTok. It's really scary to see my friends kind of disconnect with me and just connect with these people they've never met.
That is super true. So, like, that girl I relate to very hard. I didn't make my own program or anything, but I went around and I was the one who didn't have an iPhone, who didn't have social media, and I wanted to be social. Like, everybody else would just disappear into their phones and then just go away. And I'd just be sitting there like, we gonna talk yet? We gonna do something? Huh? But, like, and I don't think social media is bad. Like, that's the whole point of casing this. Like, I wanted to make this discussion. It's because I don't think social media is bad. I like it. I love TikTok. I think it's fun, and I do think that someone else should make TikTok, but I think that she points out such true things, like, you don't have to just, like, be mining content just to, like, get something. I need to stop spinning. And so, like, and so I really like her organization. Like, I like that log off. That's kind of, like, I think how I initially spent my time, but I ended up reinvesting time like that into, like, different places. Like, I didn't do social media as much as I did other things. And So I feel like it did benefit me in a way of being able to connect with anything that I'm doing at that moment, but it's also forced me to stay away from my phone because I think that this pro social media conversation extends into the technology conversation of having an iPhone, of having these smartphones, of having games right at your fingertips, and not just like games you can kind of like make up and play, but like literal full engaging games on your phone that you can play at any time. Because I've had people disappear on me just playing games while I'm talking to them. And it sucks. Like, it kind of does. Like, I want the human connection sometimes. So I get these people's things, and technology is so great for distance. I think it makes it so wonderful to stay connected to other people. But like she said, it's like, it's also scary to watch these people just dive into like a connection with someone like through the phone, like away from the thing in front of them. So
That we're narcs and that we kind of hate social media like parents hate social media. I don't
yes, we are not fucking narcs just because we want to read or do something else. I swear to God, I probably was thought as the biggest narc, but I'm not. I feel like people were like, oh, you just don't like your phone. I'm like, no, I have a shit ass phone. I didn't even have a smartphone that had a screen until then. Like, I didn't have like, how am I supposed to play games on my phone when I have a flip phone? When I have a keyboard phone?
think they really know our stories and know why exactly we don't want to exist on the platforms in the way that they are.
I've had hurtful things posted about me, and the thing about the internet, it's there forever, and it's not like a word that was just said to me on the playground. It's something that's out there and other people can see.
So also, I definitely agree with that point a little bit, like about like when people make like Finstas, like I tried making a Finsta once and I didn't get it because to me, I knew that technology is still technology. Like there's nothing truly private on the internet. It's not like your life is truly private, but like you can't write things like that without thinking that they might be Googleable or might be like searchable. So I kind of agree with their points about like shit kind of matters, like words matter, and words especially matter on like social media.
But my personal experience with it, and from a lot of stories that I've heard through Log Off, is that a lot of kids have lost people because of social media. And I think that that constant mindless scrolling allows you to kind of go into this bubble and just hunker down and to not really talk with people.
I know a bunch of kids that like
So I've seen this. I've been part of Facebook groups. I definitely think that social media is really hard to be social on if you don't know how to like advance it. Because like that's to me the reason why people can't on dating apps actually can't like get past that is because they like it's like the technology assisted them in making it easy, but now it's too easy to ask them to go on a real date. So I do believe it actually does make you antisocial to a degree. I've been a part of Facebook groups that people would never become friends with each other because they'd be too scared. And that's stupid to me because I'm like, this is real life. This is like, I want to meet you guys. I want to have real friends. Like I have met friends on Facebook and I think they're some of my closest friends still. Like I love meeting people. It is one of my favorite things. And I put that on my Gemini Venus in the first, but like it is fulfilling, and so it's really hard. Like, I don't think I would have had it so easy, though, if I was able to hide behind a screen. And I think that it forced me to at least confront my socialness to be able to be more palatable, at least when needed. So I do think that, like, if you're not forced to have interactions outside of social media, I think you're going to get stuck in a certain way. And they can be said for anything that doesn't expose yourself in a different way so you're well-rounded rather than just one way.
don't know how to communicate outside of like an emoji or like outside of like a picture or like only have one picture face and like we'll repeatedly take the same, like we'll stop everyone in the friend group to pick a wall and just sit there and pose and take 100 photos and stand there and wait and be like, no, take one more.
I definitely like would base like entire friend groups to hang out and just take pictures. Like we wouldn't communicate, it would just be pictures just to post on Instagram. And then I would find myself that like we didn't even connect when we were hanging out. It wasn't quality time because I feel like, oh.
So that's like a really great point too. Like I've definitely I've had to help those people. Like I've been the one that has been the photographer and sits there and takes photos and keeps taking photos because they were not happy. And again, I think that there's a time and place. I think that the people who are I think it was a weird time because it was social media and I know people take it as a career now, but like before it was like the thing, it was a hobby. It was like you imposed on other people. And so it's really hard because I think that if you're not, it's almost like if you're not part of it, you're useless. Like, you don't offer any likes, you don't offer, like, it almost feels like a transactional relationship. And I think that might be it. I think that might be because it's just like a slightly transactional relationship. And it's harder to see how many likes you get with a person, like in Sims. But yeah, damn, that was an interesting.
Feel the pressure and everything. People start being people and they're just empty profile pictures. People will come to me and they won't know my name. They'll go by my screen name. And then I'm just like, am I human?
The screen name thing, holy shit. I definitely feel like that. It's kind of weird. Like, it's nice because I purposely had that for distancing. Like, I didn't want it to be just part of myself, but at the same point, like, it is so weird to have someone call you by that instead of your name. And I know some people feel very special about their name, so that actually might be a relieving thing to have social media and identities, but you know, it's crazy. Like, it must feel surreal to just be known by these many people, because I don't even think we could fathom the amount of people we could be noticed and known by and critiqued by. And I think that's a lot. I think at least within a community, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But then when it goes to like worldwide, it's crazy. It's something on the human psyche, that's for damn sure.
I like to ask questions in comments and ask like, oh, where'd you get that? Or, you know, like, what hair dye did you use? Or something like that, because I think it's a lot more engaging. Or I like to, sometimes I'll make my posts, I'll make it a question, like the caption. I like to interact with like a lot of my followers through comments because I'm uncomfortable, you know, messaging them personally. It's good to like interact with the people that support you.
But what would you say to like bigger influencers like Kylie Jenner or like Kim Kardashian that can't have that interaction via the comments?
Yeah, and then Alex, some people just don't even reply to you. They'll just double tap, like the message.
Going off.
So with Alex, I totally hear him out. I am definitely like Alex when it comes to social media. Like I engage people a lot. Sometimes I don't answer comments, mostly because some social medias are overwhelming. Like I feel sometimes TikTok can be really overwhelming to approach after I've been like performing all day for like for Twitch, right? Like, I mean, call it what it is, but like I am putting together this like show. And so sometimes I don't respond, but I think that like the way Alex is the way I'm about like most of my social media. Is like I strive to use my social media to get to know, but I've also tried to curate my social media to be more conscious, to be like, I need to get off this. Like I used to have alarms for how long I was on each app for like for an hour or two, because I'd take so much time and just go absorb, and then I'd go by, and then I was like, shit, I ran out of time. And like things like gaming, like that's honestly, I feel like why I like streaming, because at least I can see my time going. Like when I see the numbers change, I'm like, meh. But when I see my time, like it's like I can see like the hours. And I know it sounds stupid, but it makes sense to me. And so you can use it to be engaging, but that's where I say like it's so much, I think, on the human psyche as social media, like social media on kids in particular, because I think like as an adult you learn to be like, oh, okay, I can't connect with everyone, I can't respond to everyone, I can't please everyone.
What you said about like making real human connection, have you ever like looked into like social media accounts that like promote that? Because I don't know if you guys know, we're not really strangers. If you guys know them, they have a card game. You don't know. Okay, so it's basically a card game where you have perception, analysis, and then reflection, and then you just have conversation like, or how are you really, or you know, if how like what would you name the chapter of this in your life, and then boom, we're in a 20-minute conversation that like she feels really low and she's trying to change, and then and, you know, and I would have never thought that if this social media account didn't push me or didn't encourage me to have deeper conversations.
I agree, but I think the issue is with the algorithm in place, like that's not popping up on my feed. Like I don't
Right.
know that those exist. And because it's so expansive and because there's so much hollowness and mindless scrolling, like I've never found that. If I found that, I would have loved that.
With the algorithm and the fact that you never see those things, like I always feel like we're on a whole different side of TikTok than you are, and all it takes is just to look up like deep conversations on the internet. There would have been a Vogue article about we're not really friends, and then you would have looked it up, you know? So in order to change your algorithm, you just have to change the things that you're looking for.
But don't you think maybe like the algorithm in place is what's making it so dangerous? Because it's like they're pumping out these really terrible kind of like content videos, but also you've got like the attention economy where they're like fighting to get your information to then give to people, to put ads in your feed that you won't notice.
Even if you're not on social media, you know it's gonna do that anyway.
So 2 points, absolutely wonderful points were made, in my opinion. The first one is saying you have to curate your algorithm feed to find this shit. You have to search this shit. Like you must play the algorithm as the algorithm plays you. And I think that comes from a very creator side. I think that comes from learning to work the system and wanting to have some more control over your feed. So I think that's a wonderful point. And I absolutely believe it. And the second absolutely true point was the fact she's like, but don't you think this algorithm in place is the problem? Because you're right. Imagine if all our shit was chronological order again. Like, I would be elated. I wish it were back to chronological order again. And I love the content recommendation. Like, I actually use TikTok's like algorithm to my advantage, and I think it can be a lot invasive, but like it is just like shit, I forgot where I was going with that. I think the absolute second best point that she's made that's true is the fact that she's questioning the algorithm's existence, because I think that's a great ass point. Why does it have to be pushed through this feed to then and then calling out the attention economy? That's another one too, because people want their ads to be so seamless that they blend in with the algorithm. And think about that. That's super scary, at least in my opinion. And I think that it is detrimental, at least selling that ad space on social media. And it does then ask the question, well, how do you pay for it? How do you pay for social media? And so, like, because, the servers cost money, people programming it costs money, people regulating it costs money, all that shit. And I totally agree, but it's like, there has to be a better way than just ads. And it has to be better than just this attention economy, because the more attention, it is crazy. And I'm like, I know I'm one of those people too, so I'm just as hypocritical, but I do want people's attention. And it's like, there is an attention economy, and it's like, damn, this capital mode system got hands. And it's like, all you can do, I feel like, as like a life philosophy thing, my new philosophy, is like, you can just try. Like, all you can do is try to work the system and try to just do the best you can. Because I don't think you can truly escape yourself from the system. There are some you can, but without, you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. And that's not a biggie, but that is it, So call it for what it is, but yeah. So let's hear what Alex has got to say.
Like, if you're searching anything up, like if you're searching something up on Safari and you go onto your computer onto Chrome, the ads will probably be the same. It's just
the internet.
It's just technology.
Right.
I sat down here saying that social media makes people antisocial, but hearing Alexa and Alex speak, it makes me remember that social media isn't just the whole TikTok scene. It's also schools. There's clubs and stuff. I've made a couple new friends from social media, because they live in Ventura, I live in San Diego. So I don't think it's necessarily just the whole big fame thing. There's also the smaller groups. Yeah, I'd like to say social media changed my life. I'm more confident. I actually think.
So, yeah, I think there is a point. He's right too. You got to look at some of the small stuff too, because it's not always as simple as just like, it's not always as simple as just getting famous. I think that people can approach the extremes, but you can find your way through the middle. You can find your way to get what you want. You just have to have a goal. You have to have an intent. You have to have a mission. So people who go in mindlessly to social media are going to get destroyed, personally. And that's why I think kids shouldn't be on it.
About what I wear. I used to just roll out of bed, grab what's near. I do see how social media can be bad, but I like to think of it in a positive light.
I have been bullied on social media.
I know you guys remember like those Musical.ly days. I feel like that was my biggest bullying, because it's like,
All I gotta say is, we knew this one was gonna come up.
it's just like entering a whole different society. It's just like when you're going out, you're making videos, you don't really know what you want to post or what you want to do or what you want to look like. So it is going to be cringy at first, and it's not going to be great.
Musical.ly was definitely a dark time. More recently, I did have a hate account on Instagram. They told me to kill myself and told me that because I was upset about my pet dying, that I should kill myself, and that I was ugly and I looked like a clown. And yeah, I really let it get to me for a long time. But then I realized, they're only making fun of me because I'm giving them attention about it. So I just had to block them from all my accounts and block all the people they were following and block all the people that were following them. And then I just had to stop looking. And if I don't look at it, then I don't know what they're saying.
Right, and that's the thing. It's just like, once you stop looking into it, you just stop feeding the fire and it will die eventually, because you just don't even pay it no mind.
I don't have a big following, so it's
Very true. You should absolutely stop paying it mind. If it's gonna start, like, if things are gonna start acting up like that and all that, like, if people are gonna start bullying you and shit, like, kind of like with Gamer Dude, I shouldn't have been fighting him back, but obviously it got me more attention because that's just how life works. So it's interesting because I'm like, absolutely, don't feed the fire, get out of there, don't mind your own. But as these girls are gonna go on and talk about, like, it's not always as simple as that, especially when, like him, they use it for small example reasons, not for just famous, because I think it's easier to be like, oh, well, these people don't matter. They're not my real friends. They're not my real life. They're not my real life. And that, I think, is the key word right there.
Mostly people I know. Usually it's TikToks and it's not with my name in it, but you can tell that it's implied towards me. And I try not to comment, but like there's some points where they're coming out and saying like completely false things about me. Posting and hating on someone through the internet is completely different from in person because it's there forever. You don't have control over that because it's up to them to delete it.
And I just want to add to her point as well. Like, you can't delete it and people can make that shit go viral. Like a hate video about you, about something so small, could go viral about you. And I think that's really shit. Like, because it is different than in person. Like, I would rather be in person bullied. At least the escalation is fight. Like, online, what do? I have to gain more people. I have to manipulate more to hopefully get them on my side. Like, it's tough. It is hard. And then to have all your social medias just like that and the only options off, and then you can't control what's being said about you, it's terrible, in my opinion.
So I have had rude comments been made about me, but I've never been like heavily cyberbullied because I don't really have a big following and because of the community that I'm in. I've just read hundreds of stories about kids who like felt like they wanted to kill themselves because of the rude comments they were getting. And I just remember like there were nights when I would cry and I'd be so upset because I couldn't really do anything about it.
My cyberbullying experience, the first like big one, I was in like this like dance team, right? And I was the shortest kid, the fattest kid, and like one of like 3 Asians. So I clearly stuck out no matter what I did. And you know, like after practice, like all the girls would like do that like 2014 like ass out like phase and like the duck face thing pose. One day, like one of them like invited me to take the photo with them, and I thought like this was the only way you could pose on Instagram. So like I did it, and then they took the photo and they were all like laughing and they started uploading it. I didn't know why. Over like the next 2.5, 3 years, they would continuously like bring me into the photo. Like I would never just go up. They'd always ask me, hey, do you want to be in the photo? Do you want to be in the photo? So I felt like I was being included. But when I like got a phone and when I got an Instagram and when I started following like my fellow dance team members, I would look at their Instagrams and like from the beginning, it's photos of me. They'll zoom in on me and they'll be like, look at that fat thing, that fucking monster. Like, is it trying to pose? Like, what does that thing think it is? Like, do they think they're cute? I was in like fucking elementary school. Like, I don't know how to deal with myself. Like, I barely know how to open a peanut butter jar, and you expect me to know how to deal with people calling me it and like a monster, you know what I mean?
So that genuinely broke my heart. And I heard when I first watched this video, because I did watch it first, my heart was broken for that girl. Like, that is incredibly saddening. And I think it is, no, we are not having an intervention. I am filming a YouTube video, so I'm not going to be responding, very much. And so like with her, like that, you know, and I relate to that. I had people do that to me. I had found posts on Facebook from 8th grade that people had bullied me and asked, what the fuck is she doing with her hair? Like in a photo, because I didn't know I had curly hair. So, and I brushed it, which is like cardinal mistake number 1. But I didn't know that in like 7th, 8th grade. But those comments sure do stay around. So like, yeah, I don't really care for kids having social media because I don't think they're responsible, and I think it results in shit like that. And it's fucking hurtful.
Social media can cause young people to hurt themselves.
Instagram, TikTok, everything is the highlight reel. My Instagram, I'm not gonna post the ugliest picture of me. When I scroll through my friends, in the back of my head, I should know that's the same for them. Yet I'm like, they look so pretty. Why do I not look like that? And I think for younger generations, it's really scary that they're gonna have to deal with this.
I have this one photo that's
So her and I are gonna line up, the one that has like that organization, because now I remember what I was gonna say. It's, and even scarier, these fucking beauty filters, these AI'd like filters like that you don't even realize are on, it is crazy. It is so crazy. Like when I first looked at TikTok's camera, like I'm used to looking at my face. Like I don't generally put filters unless they're like funny, you know? Like I try to like make my face look different shapes, or like I put like the little dog ear one. Like that was cute, but like it edits your face low key. And that's scary because it's like to see yourself through a filter and only a filter, never just like a picture. That's heartbreaking because it's like I think most people are usually pretty. As long as they're confident, I do think they're usually pretty. And there's some like objectively prettier people, I suppose, but like honestly, like this is what I mean. But I think it's so different because imagine if you had a video that went viral of you, like as a kid, if you had a video that went viral of you, like in being, you know, you were poor and trashy and all this shit, and it was posted online and then it went viral. Like that's the shit I think about. That's why I think like it's not so much like bullying as it is it's like social media in the hands of kids. And I don't think that's a great choice. Like this is why I like this one, is because this is about the teens and it's not so much like a graciousness of like, oh, hi, like social media must be free of conflict. Like, no, I don't think it's that, but I think it's like the detriment of having it so young and so ingrained into you. So, the filters are just so crazy, and the way that they go so intensely to reshape your face, I understand why people have such self-consciousness, and and people don't even know when others edit their photos. And then they're like, "Oh, I should look like this, but I don't look like that." But I'm like, "Honey, they edited themselves. They didn't I'm sure they worked hard at some of the stuff, but they airbrushed, they edited, they smoothed, they did all this stuff. It's just they've done so much more, so you can't compare yourself to something that they aren't even." So, and it's harmful for both the person, I think, who does it, the person who has their stuff edited constantly, and the person who sees their stuff edited constantly and assumes it's not. So let's get back to the video.
One photo that's so vivid in my memory, and like I'm at like an aquarium and I'm leaning against like one of the fish tanks, and my dad and my brother are next to me, and I'm like half my brother's height. My face just sagging, my body, like my clothes don't fit on me. And I'm like, at that time, I didn't realize how depressed I was and how much these dance photos were ruining me. That's kind of when I knew like social media is not something I'm not safe here, you know? And so an excuse I can make for not pleasing people online is that I don't use it. And then I'll be okay.
The bad thing about social media is like if you have a bad friend in real life and your mom's like avoid them, don't be next to them and stuff, but on social media you almost can't avoid them. And I feel like that's where like a lot of kids can get hurt because they comment rude things on your things, or they don't share the same opinions, and those friends are horrible, you know?
I don't know how Tumblr is now because I don't go on it, but there are a lot of like
Yeah. And I think, and they exactly addressed it, I think.
self-harm pages and eating disorder pages with like ideas to make yourself lose weight. There's so much of that on Tumblr that I had to get off of Tumblr. And I think that definitely will hurt kids now and in the future.
I just couldn't imagine.
That one is very weird. So like Tumblr, that's where it's like this algorithm is like, why is social media bad? And I think it's like because you can find those things faster. Like I think you can argue you can find any of these bad themes or topics like in real life, like let's say pre-internet or whatever, but I also think that that it's now just so much easier. Like someone could access this from like their bedroom. Like there's a lot of things you can basically access from your bedroom, which is like really impressive and cool, but it's also scary, especially when there's no training, there's no expectations or rules or help or any tools given. Oops, my bad. Or like anything to help these people, at least like young people, because I think like, I don't know, I don't even know who'd be the most prepared adult. Like it's just crazy to think about. So I don't know. And like and there are such thing, I think he called them Pro Anna and Pro, like they were called Pro Anna, but like these were things like huge about searching, like about like basically spreading information about how you can commit the same types of harms or commit the same types of like things that, you know, basically just like ideas and tips. And it's like, it can definitely be harmful and helpful. Like there's so much information on the internet. That is why I say it's hard, because it is both good and bad. It is neither. It's neither good nor bad. It's all of it. It is a lot. And so like putting to me it's irresponsible to put kids on social media, but I wouldn't know what to do as an adult, like if I had a kid. And so that's the craziest part. Is because I know now it's so different. Like, I feel weird about posting kids, like pictures of kids, like especially without their parents' consent, or even making a meme of them because I don't want to spread their kid's image unconsensually. Like I know I have a friend who's a little extreme in her photo thing, but I'd say I'd probably agree to it to the same age of like 13 or so, like the way you have to sign on for social media. But like, I'd want them to like at least be able to adultedly make it, but adultedly and make that decision to be able to like share their image or like have control. But we also see young actors, so it's like it wouldn't stop anything. And so it sucks because I just want people to be educated. I want people to know how to freaking use social media to their benefit. And unfortunately, I wish we could know more about our data usage, but that's another problem for another day.
Imagine being like 10 or 11 or 12, just being so young and looking through this and taking all these suggestions in. I'm 18 now, like I go through it and I know better, but I feel like you could get seriously hurt when you're young because you really just don't know any better.
Yeah, I'll just play back on what you said about how little kids don't know better. I saw a hack where it was like scoop ice cream and it said microwave the spoon. Most children wouldn't know. And yeah, in cases like that, it does hurt me to be pro social media. But social media, I think it was always more intended for more discretion.
Like I have this friend named Jessie Page, and she
Okay. Yeah, and I don't want to even be like completely like no social media, nothing, none. But like it's just like, like I don't know. It makes sense to me. Whatever. But like I think that's why I get onto the point of like arguments, like or when I get onto the point of like people like saying like, haha, I'm just making a joke. Like that's what gamer our dad said, gamer with dad or whatever his fucking name was said. Like that was his excuse. So like what like how like it you don't get to justify yourself off of that. Like you have to have more discretion. You have to put more effort because we don't know gamer your dad. Yeah. Like I couldn't remember the name, but yeah, like he used the same excuse trying to be like, "Oh, it's just a joke," but it's not. It's not a joke. And I see the intention at least nowadays, but little kids don't, and so they're just trying to just get it to stop. And so it's really hard. It's just I think it's so much and they're so trusting and then people like put trolls on there like it's a joke and I'm like I get it. I love trolling, but that's where it's like it's scary to troll with people who are like younger because I'm like I don't want to impress the like impression on them like that. I want them to genuinely be able to make that own decision and have a conversation about it. But
she is very, very like pro body positivity and like pro like mental health, like really like I want to get better. That's why I keep all my posts up because I want people to be able to go back and look. I wasn't on T for 3 years, when I was out, like I was fully out and like fighting for myself to start hormones. My friend Jessie too, she also puts before and after. She always puts like, this is the real me.
so I think while that's like super good for accountability and shit like that, I also think that like it's a lot to ask of people, and I think it's crazy. It's also crazy because it's like people fluctuate from it's just social media to like it's social media. You need to be more conscious of it, and so I don't know. I don't know if it's much to ask for that type of transparency, but I do think that encouraging that type of transparency and that ability to make mistakes rather than like cancel culture it completely, I think that it is a good thing. So like if that's how it's encouraged, then that's like how it's encouraged, But let me put this video back up to give Alex his social media testimonial.
100%. I don't think I would be the person I am if it wasn't for social media. I first came out on TikTok and my parents didn't even know. That's how they found out, actually.
Children under the age of 13 should not be allowed on social media.
So right away, I am almost certainly on this team, or at least like I think like social media type games could be fun. Like I don't know where Neopets falls in that, or like Club Penguin. I thought those were like kind of appropriate places, but I believe that because I was there. Like I think I got an email when I was 10, and then I got a Facebook when I was 16, 17, and yeah, the email was my primary mode of like social media, and I kind of think it should have, because I think I tried using like Formspring. I don't know if that dates me or not anymore. And like other things similar to that. I tried making a MySpace, and then my parents found out and deleted it. But I used it only for social, like I literally used it for music because it was the only music thing I could consistently listen to, like with new music. But I'm interested to have a reaction to the rest of their comments about this.
Well, it's kind of funny because I talk to a lot of organizations with Log Off, and the main point that they try to get across is that they're trying to advocate for kids to get cell phones and technology and social media at an older age. And you know, years ago I would have said, that's really stupid. That's like the drug talk, like don't do drugs, don't be on social media. I'm not gonna listen to that. But then after years of kind of self-reflection, I wish someone would have said, you don't need Instagram to have a social life.
If I go back to like my 13-year-old self and like I didn't have all the experiences I had and I just kind of knew like, oh, it's a good place, I would be posting God knows what, right? Kids are dumb. And if you give kids a platform to do whatever they want, they're gonna be dumb.
There's no educational advocacy out there to actually allow for that to happen. And when they are there, it's this older teacher who like has a completely different outlook on social media because they never existed in an age where it was your life.
So yes to like most of this. Like I kind of agree with Emmy's point about, you know, just like kids will be done, like if she thought that she could just do whatever. But like I also think that people who just think you can do whatever, they haven't really been educated. And so that girl comes back and says there's no real educational advocacy for this program to exist. And if there is, it's an old ass teacher who says just don't be on social media. But that's not the answer. Like avoiding it is not the answer, because it's here. It is here, and it's going to be in our lives forever. And you can't even play Oculus without a Facebook account. So if you got that, you would probably need to make a Facebook account. And I think that right there in itself proves to like why we need an educational advocacy company, because I think that's absolutely correct. I think if we advocated with kids, and this is my ideal, but I think if we made like a kids only social media, like that, I think in itself would be I think it'd be a safer place. I don't think bullying would not exist, because that is going to exist and they are going to harass, but I think that I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, quite frankly, but I think that it may help. It may give them a space to express, because I do think kids are people and they should have a place to express themselves. And I think it really sucks to be told you're not allowed to be here, but you're expected to perform in this area later on.
You know, I just feel like it's just unrealistic. When I was 13, I was fully on social media, making videos every single day. So I just feel like, if anything, it helped me more when I was 13. Like, it really allowed me to just know what things were and not be so, what is going on? Like, you know, not knowing a lot of things.
Because like I was on social media at like 11 years old. Like I was a child and
Right.
on social media. And my dad told me, he was like, you know, but you're also trans and you're also like LGBT, you know, you need to be able to meet people, because your bubble that you would know of trans people would be 0.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think we're underestimating children. They're relentless. We put an age limit on Instagram or an age limit on like an adult type website. They're still gonna get through.
I didn't have social media. I was probably like the last couple people out of my like friends, because my mom knew the restrictions and how the things that are on the internet is, you can't control what other people are posting and you can't control what your kids are seeing. But I believe that like other kids mature at different ages, and we can't really restrict certain people from going on this platform when it's public.
It's difficult because I do think what you said is true, where
So I think there's some like really amazing viewpoints on this. I think that a lot of the pro social media people are addressing it from like you can't keep people out. But I think that the anti social media one, but the one that has the advocacy and agency for it, I think that she is gonna kind of explain and expand these people's viewpoints, and like we shouldn't. And like that girl making videos at 13, honestly, it's a little bit concerning, only because I'm like, I hope it was okay, and I hope you can't control who sees it, I guess. And I think that's a big one, because I'd be scared for like if she filmed, like let's say the wrong way, or she had glasses on and then someone decided to be creepy and track her down through like that reflection, because that shit happens, even if I sound crazy. And it's like, I don't think you need to be that crazy, but also I think it's like you can be prepared like to handle, like I think that it like would, because my parents kept me off basically manually, and I think that if they had explained it more, I like this way, I think it would have been a little bit easier, but I still do appreciate that they did. So but I think you can make videos, like you can make content like things without sacrificing social media, without having social media. Like, you can make little videos on a camcorder, or you can make scrapbook pages, or you can make like pictures and take pictures and be a photographer, I guess, if as long as your parents encourage that. Especially with an iPhone, but that's how I see it. And so that's how I would hope. And so I want to see the anti-people side, but to the pro, I know they brought up a lot of interesting points. And I think Alex is the most valid. If there's one, I think they're all valid, but Alex's has the point of like, well, you need to find a community. And I think it is. As long as you turn that shit back over into community, then it's cool. But if you don't, then it's kind of just like, you're just sitting there kind of like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense for a young kid for me. Like, I feel like there's a lot more harm to be found than good.
Where if I was 13 and someone said, you have to be 13 to get on this app.
We put an age limit on Instagram or an age limit on like an adult type website.
I believe that like other kids mature
And said, you have to be 13 to get on this app, or like you have to be older, I would have lied about my age. And I know there are millions of kids like that that are like, he, break the system and would like put in a different age.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. With any problem, you can't just take the problem and move it over here.
Exactly.
It's all about the education. It should be a class, like how sex ed is. There should be like 10.
Once COVID kind of hit, I realized like I need social media or else I can't like find anyone. I know some people that kind of think like when I say that I don't use social media a lot, they're like, oh, do you think you're cooler than us because you don't need like social media validation? But it's more like I'm afraid of if I search for that validation that I'm not gonna get it.
So 2 points that we got. So we got like the anti-people. So they're absolutely correct. You can't just move the problem. Like at this point, the problem's like, it's not avoidable. Like unless you live out in the fucking country. And even then there's still Wi-Fi and other shit being built that way. So it's like, you can't just avoid it. Like you just can't. And so I think they're absolutely on the nose about like the social media class. They'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it's like, I think they would be willing to participate in that. But I think high school's too late. I think that people would argue it's probably like it just needs to be integrated. If we're going to have these classes with all this technology, we should be showing them how to use technology. We should be showing them how it makes sense to use technology, how it can be harmful, how it can be impactful. And I think that's really important. And then back to Emmy's comment about social media, I think that one's too. I was scared of just posting something and getting bullied about it. Like, scared of like just like even putting a wig on and being judged for it because I see all these negative posts about other people judging. And she's had experiences that show why she's like that. She has been bullied like that unknowingly on the internet. And like that sucks. I feel for her so hard because I've found that thing and I don't think it was quite as prevalent, but like it was still like enough there that like I get it. I totally get what she means and I feel that even though as a content creator now.
Social media has educated me more than my school has.
I know all schools, they don't talk about some deep topics that social media brings to light, and it teaches you how to get through it and how to do it without talking to your family if you are uncomfortable and without talking to the school because sometimes schools don't have that education in place.
My teacher told everyone that RuPaul's Drag Race was a good example of trans people. Of course, like...
Yeah, I absolutely agreed. So a comment was just made about a Chromebooks being handed to third graders in the area that they live in, and that that would be the right time to teach them how to use the internet. And I absolutely agree. I think it'd be a fantastic time to teach them like about Google, about Gmail, about like how computers work. Like honestly, I think that if we can find a cute ass way to explain anything, then we should find one for technology so that we can explain to these kids so that they have this grip and understanding, and their parents too, honestly. I was fortunate to go to a really academically good school and they didn't like hide or avoid anything. Like the people may have sucked because I didn't like them, but like the education was fine. So it wasn't like a problem with the education. So I don't necessarily think I learned more from school, but I absolutely think that social media can open your way of seeing things and it can allow you to see things you would have never seen in your house or city, especially if you're in a small ass community or you're in a very strict community or a very like concise community, a very small one, a very small thing. And so it can help expand you, which I think is awesome. But I also, know that you can be shown way more than you should, and then it can cause problems in your real life as we're gonna see.
I got in trouble for like correcting him or whatever, but it was like I could not let him spread fake information like that because those are not trans people, those are drag queens, and that is a totally different topic. I'm very far in my transition for 16, and social media definitely helped me a lot.
Yeah. And then the fact that you even got in trouble for that shows that school is at they're lacking.
You know, personal experience is how you learn the most. You know, you go on social media and there's someone talking about this eating disorder, this depression that they went to. It's just someone actually talking to a camera, giving you real advice that a school really could never do.
The only problem I take with that particular one is because I think that can easily turn into like what Alex brought up about the pro Anna and the pro like bulimia stuff, like that I think can go straight into that. I think that can like people can manipulate you, use that and have that take you over. Like it's just I can't get behind that one because I'm like, you should trust some professionals, but you shouldn't trust people making it emotionless. For teachers, I've definitely gotten in trouble for correcting teachers, and I don't even think I needed like Twitter, but here I am. I think there is a lot to teach, and I think that real experience does teach, but at the same time, I think that if you're just participating online and not actually doing, I don't know, it can be really hard. It really just depends on what you're actually doing with that information or how you're engaging with it, how it's coming about. Like it's all nuanced. And so it's a little disingenuous to be like, it's good, you know?
I want to preface it with I'm very lucky. The school that I go to, Altamont, is like a private school in Alabama, and they're very, very good with kind of integrating these conversations into the academic dialogue. I totally agree with everything y'all have said. I've learned how to rainbow loom, and I've done a bunch of different things on social media, but I've also looked up like election, and there's been misinformation after misinformation, and with COVID. So for y'all that answered, how do you kind of outweigh like the chance to learn a bunch of new things with also the chance of seeing a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily true?
I think you just have to look for credible websites. I mean, it's just like when you're doing an essay, you wouldn't believe, just feel like blogs, any of that kind of stuff. It is easy to get a lot of misinformation, but it's also easy to see that this information is fake.
But what about like a young kid that can't really discern that? Because I feel like that's the danger.
My dad actually put the Washington Post and the New York Times on my phone so that I would look at it more, so I would get the notifications. You know, all I had to do was put it on my phone.
There have been.
Love her school. Love the fact that they've integrated all this conversation. So that's super cool. What else? I think that it's like she asked that great question. How do you filter that information? And I think that like as kids, we feel like we know how to, but like ultimately we have our own algorithm that has its own faults and our own head going off. And it's hard, you know, like how are we supposed to, like, this is why I think that kids shouldn't be on, at least not until they're double digits. Just because I think it can be real hard and harmful for them, especially if they don't get it.
Times when I've disagreed with what the teacher said, and that is true, but I also think that with social media, with the algorithm in place, it's harder to discern.
I disagree with you just because I feel like as kids we look up to our teachers for the right answers, and if they are like providing like a biased answer, we're getting the wrong information.
If you've taken a political science class, there will be times where the teacher's own political beliefs might make the learning bias. So comparable to social media, it's about the same.
Yeah, but I think it's more dangerous on social media because I agree it is very dangerous in the classroom, especially when you look up to teachers. With the algorithm, they don't have that humanity to actually discern like, oh, this is an article about how masks aren't important. So like, but I'm gonna pump that out.
But I would disagree with you for that exact reason because it's just one human, one way of life, one perspective, one thought, you know. But at least when you go on social media and you put up Trump, it's gonna come up both sides of the story. You know, and it's up to you to differentiate and read it and see, okay, this comes from this credible website and this is coming from a blog on Wikipedia.
What if we're talking about?
And I think one point that at least that girl makes is like trying to showcase how quickly it is to jump into the hole when you don't take that time. Because I don't think most people dive in that long. And I think it's fine for kids, but like I'm also like, I don't know, like it's hard. Like it's not, again, it is like something for kids that like, I don't know if that's something we should expect of them. I think it's a lot on their psyche, especially considering that most people can't handle fame. Most people can't even handle the amount of attention and criticisms that they get as a famous person. Like, I'm thinking like the royal family. I'm thinking like modern day celebrities. I'm thinking Instagram, social media influencers, child actors, all of it. And they don't handle it well. And I can't imagine that social media is any better because it's essentially like almost like navigating this like open abyss that could lead to fame or could lead to infamy. And so yeah, like I know they all disagreed with her, but I think they all disagreed with her for the fact that she was talking about a situation and they would like react to it. They themselves would react differently to it instead. So that's how I see that going on with them, at least.
About like just a straightforward thing like math, science, or English. Sometimes you can get like a cruddy teacher and they won't really teach you that well. You just type that into social media, they'll ring it right up
I've
for
never
you.
I've never actually been helped by a math teacher. I mean, photo math was the only thing that helped me. I mean, and it's not even like it only gave me the answers. I mean, you scrolled up and it
how
literally
to
showed
do
you
it.
step by step what it does, and you look for the reasoning. Here's the reasoning.
And sometimes if I have a lot of trouble with like an assignment or something, I'll actually like post a picture of it and I'll be like, hey, like I am really bad in this subject. Every single time people do message me and help me out, or like will comment and be like, hey, like actually this is what you're doing wrong and this is how you do it right.
Society.
I'm only gonna make a quick comment on that one. That's first of all so funny. I'm glad she at least looks at the work because that's now how Chegg is working with my university, so that's fun. And what is it? Secondly, yeah, I wish I could post my homework without feeling self-conscious because I feel like I'm always gonna get ratted for some reason. So I just tend not to do that. But lucky for him, he gets to do that. Go you.
Would thrive more without social media.
I don't know if I should.
For me, on a macro scale, I think there are some really troubling signs that social media is kind of unwinding society and humanity in the sense of like the democracy debate. Governments can use social media to then kind of undermine elections. And I think those are bigger issues when you look at the macro scale. But again, on the micro scale, there are so many different people in the world that thrive with it.
I know other people that are like me. I think I would thrive more without social media because I compare myself and I look for those likes and look for those comments on my posts. And I feel like if I didn't have that concern, my mental health and my self-love and self-image would be so much better if I didn't see all this stuff on the internet.
A part of me wants to ask for like a definition for like thrive, because like are we talking about like us as like a human race or like people individually, Instagram and things?
So, wonderful points. I am enjoying this video very much. I love the questions they're asking. I love the points they're making because I think it brings up this made me want to make this video commentary, honestly. Emmy. So, shout out Emmy, like you. I think it's like, I love that she described the macro versus micro because I think microly, like it is nice. It's awesome to be able to connect with people, but it's so scary how the macro level does affect every individual part of life. Like, I mean, like she said, the elections and stuff, and I'm sure people would be like, yeah, it didn't, but like, it kind of did, my dude. That is what it is, and I think it's really hard to identify what is thriving and how would it be better. Like, because I think people are like, oh, well, there wouldn't be like the social media like anxiety, but I'm like, there will be like, you know, bullying or depression or issues with like whatever we do choose. And so that's why at least nihilists always kind of go like, it doesn't matter, nothing matters, and I'm like, I guess, but it's disingenuous to the genuine problem of these people and how they want to move forward.
Can like put like make you have poor body image and this that, but also like in the case of like Alex, you know, it helps him, you know, meet other trans people and understand that like he isn't alone, right? And so it's such a general question with so many variables that like you can't just like put one answer down.
Yeah, you need
it's so case by case.
You need to know if it's on the micro macro scale.
And you know, like Alex is a following that is a lot of other trans kids that are looking for other trans kids, and if Alex just went MIA for a month, people would panic, you know, and like, you know, like I can totally like, sorry to like keep using you, but like this is like the easiest like analogy, right? I'm sorry.
I love Emmy's point, and I do feel like it is a pick on Alex, but I think that Alex does use it for like kind of a good wholesome reason. He uses it with an intention of communicating and building a community and building a social media, like a group of people, a community really. And so it's like that is the big thing. And so I feel like that's where it's like it is a positive thing, and it is a positive thing for them, even though they do have hate accounts that have happened. And Alex has admitted it themselves. So, you know, and it's very strange to think about, honestly.
And I think that if we didn't have social media, a lot of them wouldn't have been possible because there wouldn't have been the word spread so fast.
I agree, yes. These protests got really big and it's really important, but the thing that I've kind of been looking at is the people that go and take a picture and they're like, oh my God, like I'm so supportive, and like they change their profile picture, they do the Blackout Tuesday, and then a week later it gets...
I think anti-social media people, myself included even, sometimes, and like can miss when like people have like moved past that, or are like, no, we don't support that sort of thing. So like in most of like pro social media, they know that like people who fake post blackout, like they might as well just not post at all, because people hate that shit. Like people will jump on you and like do that, and I'm sure you've seen it, but like it's for good reason. And so I think that is one part. But also, I think Alex is a little bit wrong that the protests would have happened, but they wouldn't have been as effective thanks to technology and social media being able to organize and quickly organize these people.
And people go with like professional grade cameras and like bring a hair and makeup team to like sit there and like pose in the middle of the street. Like it's less of the movement and more of the social media.
And yeah, and I think that's also a perspective thing, because I think there was maybe 1 or 2 major influencers who were dumb enough to take a production team out there to take a picture. And
when people are kind of seeing like, oh, this is trendy, and when people have that desire to like go viral, they'll go out and they'll do it.
I do think she makes a pretty decent point, at least in terms of like people wanting to reach. And I think it may not be so much people as it is companies. And I think that there's a really hard thing with social media that some people are like, well, it's a person behind the account. And sometimes it's a group of people. Sometimes it's a conglomerate of people. So like, you know, we don't know exactly who's behind it or what's behind it. And it's kind of like, I think it's like when you're trying to go viral and then you become a machine for like, let's go viral, and this is the trending topic, that probably is going to appear. And I think she sees that kind of pattern correlation happening, and I think that's a good call out. But I don't think it happens explicitly that way. At least there's some pushback for that way. I think that's what he's going to explain now.
What if me, Alex and Alexa, we all just teamed up, we did like a charity stream and then donated to, let's just throw back to like early 2020 where there was like fires. Wouldn't California or Australia thrive from us donating?
I do agree that social media does like promote awareness and it helps change. And definitely in our society, because everyone's on social media. So if they see this and it gets spread, it's going to make change.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I made like the log off movement, is because I saw that there was this multifaceted nature about social media, and I at least just wanted to discuss it with teens and to be like, let's figure out how to exist in a healthier way. Yeah. And even though social media, we can talk about the good and the bad all day, it's just nice to be in one space and have one conversation.
I mean, yeah, technically.
I thought this was such a wholesome conversation. I loved this whole setup. I loved the fact that they use teenagers to have this. I love the fact that she has her own company and that like most of them are little influencers themselves or little business people. I shouldn't infantilize them like that, but I really appreciated this, and I'm gonna record the rest of it. It's so cute.
Social media did bring us here, so I guess that's a good thing. But like, hey, we don't have to talk about that.
So that's the end of the video, and like they said, kind of like we can talk about the good, the bad, all of that all day long, back and forth, but I think it's such an important thing and to talk about, because I think most people mindlessly engage back with it, like, and I guess it's unfair to say completely mindlessly, but like I guess in a way I think there's little thought put into it after we start. And I think it's really important that we reevaluate and regulate back on what we do. And I especially think we have to consider the kids and have to consider people under the age of 13. Like, even if you have them, even if you just have them in your family, that is so important, I think, to be able to help them and to help them navigate, because social media is hard, man. And if you have little kids like near you or like doing Zoom and stuff, help them learn, help them seriously learn, help them learn some good techniques for the internet, because I really am like that team anti-social media in terms of like, I wish kids would wait longer until they'd get on. And it's not that I want them to avoid the internet. I want them to avoid those like consistent things like the comments or something, and be able to find those YouTube videos and find those resources where they can use at least some of the good facets while understanding there are bad facets. So, you know, I can't do much, but at least I can put all that in a video. So now I'm done with this. 555. And then I'm going to end this video now since we finished it. So I'm going to give my little end speech. So those are my concluding final thoughts. I really appreciate you guys being here. And if you watched it and made it to the end, thank you so much. I hope you like, comment, subscribe down below, whatever, do whatever you want. If not, I'd like to see you around in the community. I'm everywhere. So come find me.